turn to Nehemiah chapter 2. Actually, we're turning to Nehemiah chapter 11b, chapter 1, verse 11b through 2:8. It's like I was saying, I know I couldn't find anything to yell about this week, so I don't have to yell. I told Morgan that, she goes, well, you're gonna yell anyway, so don't have to. I was like, okay, Morgan. But we're gonna start, like I said, chapter 1, verse 11. I was the cupbearer to the king in the month of Nisan, in the 20th month of King Artaxerxes. When wine was brought for him, I took the wine and gave it to the king. I had not been sat in his presence before. So the king asked me, why does your face look so sad when you are not ill? This can be nothing but sadness and heart. I was very afraid. But I said to the king, may the king live forever. Why should my face not look sad when the city where my father was buried lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire? The king said to me, what is it you want? Then I prayed to the God of heaven, and I answered the king, if it pleases the king, and if you serve as my favor in your sight, let him send me to the city of Judah, where my father was buried, so that I can rebuild it. Then the king, with the queen sitting beside him, asked me, how long will your journey take, and when will you get back? It pleased the king to send me, so I set a time. I also said to him, if it pleases the king, may I have letter to the governor of Trans-Euphrates. Here's the deal, when you're doing Greek words, or Old Testament words, just say it like you know it, and everybody believes it, because nobody else can say it right anyway. It's so good. So, Trans-Euphrates, so that I will provide myself safe conduct until I arrive in Judah. And may I have a letter to Asher, keeper of the king's forest, so he will give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel by the temple, for where the city walls, and for the residence which I will occupy. And because the gracious hand of my God was upon me, the king granted me my request. As I went through this chapter this week, there are so many parables to what's happening here at Seahawks. If you weren't there last week, or if you don't really remember, I'll catch you up. Nehemiah, as we started the book of Nehemiah, we're going to trudge right through it until we get to about the 7th chapter, I think it is. And then you get to the phone book of Jerusalem. And I'm not preaching the phone book, guys. I'm not that talented. So we're going to skip that chapter of the phone book. And then we're going to go on after that. But last week, we talked about God and how Jerusalem was supposed to be that city on a hill where the light shines through into the community. And Jerusalem was supposed to be that city where God's name was held very high. And they were supposed to go out and shine into the rest of the world, show how people were supposed to live. And we transitioned that into the church, and especially CWOP. We also talked about taking responsibility for your sins and how men were supposed to lead their families. And this week, as I said last week, it starts off with, I was cupbearer to the king. Nehemiah is a regular guy. He's doing a job. He's not a professional minister. And it's kind of scary because most of the time, like I said last week, when the Bible talks about professional ministers, it's not very normally favorable. They're the ones that killed Jesus, all right? But Nehemiah is just a guy doing his job, and God used him. The cupbearer in that day, Nehemiah was basically a well-treated slave. All right, the cupbearer was the guy that was protecting the king. He was basically that last line of defense. The king had a lot of people that wanted to kill him, but he had guards around, so you couldn't come out in full force and just stab him. You just weren't going to make it. So what they do is they poison his food or his wine. And being the cupbearer, you got to be in the king's presence every day. So you had the king's attention. You were semi-close to him, about as close as a slave could be. But also, you were in charge of getting the wine, preparing the wine. You were overseeing the food and everything else. And basically, your job was to taste the food and the wine before the king got it. Because if you died, then he just would eat that food. So basically, you would eat it, and if you were okay, the king would eat it. If you died, well, he just got somebody else, and he didn't eat that meal that day. So that is Nehemiah's job. He's in front of the king every day. He's very prominent. He's at all the meals and everything else. So he knows the king. In the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Xerxes, when the wine was brought before him, I took the wine and gave it to the king. I had never been sad in his presence before. Now remember this, Nisan, this is 3 to 4 months after chapter 1. This is 3 or 4 months from the time that Nehemiah started fasting and praying for a city. If you remember last week, Nehemiah heard some news that the city of Jerusalem had been burned and the gates were torn down and the city was in, I didn't do that, I don't have a microphone. The city was in disarray and everything was just really bad. But this had been happening for 141 years. This wasn't new news. There was a couple, 2 or 3 generations that had went through the process, and this was just kind of standard practice that Jerusalem was in ruins. So Nehemiah, with a heart, heard this news with a heart broken, fasted and prayed for 3 or 4 months. He had the heart of Jesus for his city. God had given him a new heart for his city. You know, I usually have seen this all, open the eyes of our heart. And I really believe that's what God had done to Nehemiah. He opened his heart and he saw the city and the people and the circumstances around him the way God sees it. The way God sees it. And Nehemiah sat there and wept and fasted for 3 or 4 months for some 140-year-old news. And guys, we sit here today in America and I know it's like, we don't fast. We barely pray. Fasting is not really popular. And I'm a fat guy. I understand fasting is not popular, right? I like to eat. But the Bible tells us when you fast. It's not if you fast, it's when you fast. And fasting's always had this stigmatism of you don't eat for a certain amount of time. I had a professor that fasted for 40 days during winter. I thought he was crazy, but he fasted for 40 days and he made it. I was like, great for him. I'm not doing that. But fasting can consist of, I'm not going to watch that TV show this week. I'm going to spend that time praying. I'm not going to play that video game this week. I'm going to spend that time praying. You know, fasting doesn't have to be food. It can be other things. But Nehemiah, with a broken heart, and sits there, and he's in this time of prayer and planning, and